let's get stuck into it. What themes did we see over the last 7 days? The fastest growth in 32 years in house prices. That's right, 32 years. That might even be older than a lot of our callers on the line today. All of us that are on the panel are at least older than that. So in our lifetime, it has once been faster, but pretty spectacular given that only 12 months ago, it was all doom and gloom. What does that mean? Well, apparently there is a negative to it. Greg's going to give us a bit more insight into that. How do you survive in this super hot housing market? We're going to run through that. Landlords, those of you that have been long suffering, I talk about this a lot. I've suffered over the last 12 months, as I'm sure a lot of you have. Those rules and moratoriums have ended, but they've been replaced here in Victoria by another 130 odd rules. And the regulators, are they actually going to do anything? I know it's the hottest topic. Let's get stuck in and find out what we all think about what's going to go on with there. Last weekend's auction results. Those of you that were asleep for the whole time because you're in a coma from eating all those Easter eggs, as most of us were. Easter is typically always a slower weekend, as most people are away or don't find it a good time to sell. However, it was still the busiest Easter ever on record, with just under 900 auctions going through. Again, sensational clearance rates, just a touch under 80%. Sydney, unbelievable, unstoppable at 86%. Melbourne, fantastic result, 75%. And across the board there, Canberra obviously almost hitting the perfect score, albeit from just a small number of 50 odd auctions. So continuing to see that strong trend. What are we seeing in these leading indicators? Those of you that haven't joined before, this is from realestate.com. They produced this as a bit of an idea as to what they're seeing going on their website. You can see it's been pretty interesting given that what we're seeing from the auction results and from housing prices have been going up and up and up. This index has been consistently falling for the last 6 or 7 odd weeks, albeit still significantly higher than it was last year. So look, what does it mean? I don't really know. As I said, it's not an exact science. It's just a leading indicator, and it is only from realestate.com. Perhaps everyone is over on domain.com or Homely or Find Me a New Home, or those people that are old enough to remember. Greg will tell you when he was looking for his home, he got out the Saturday's newspaper and was circling through the listings in there. And the art of selling a home back in those days, Greg, was all about writing a good description, wasn't it, in less than 100 words. So rentals, same thing. Index is down a little bit, albeit significantly higher than what it was. I'm really not too sure how to explain this other than to say, clearly we know that the inner city rental market is still suffering from the closed borders, the fact that a large cohort of those renters being students are no longer in the country studying until those borders open up. And perhaps the other thing we can explain for this slight change here is that with all of those incentives for first home buyers, perhaps they've been more focused on looking at the way to get into owning a property than actually moving houses. So this, again, does not mean that the rental market is not strong or that there's no interest. This is really just a bit of an idea as to how many people are actually actively looking on there. Maybe everyone's happy with where they are or they haven't been kicked out of their current rental property, which I know Jack's going to give us a rundown on that later. All right, my favourite question, Lucas, take it away. What's more important, information or knowledge?
Knowledge.
Boy. So those of you that haven't joined before, why do I bring this up every single week for the last 12 months and keep on harping on about this? The reason being, I think it's really, really important that everyone understands the difference between information and knowledge, and in particular, what you can do with that knowledge. So information is organised data about something. It's just information, in its own right. It's just facts, figures, whether they're true, made up or whatever they are. Knowledge is actually having an understanding either through experience or education. So knowledge in itself is being able to take all of that information, process it, work out whether it's relevant, what it means, and how it might affect you. And with that knowledge, you can build up your own personal database of what we call actionable knowledge. Now, you're going to hear us talk a lot about that. That's what today is all about, is to help you build up your own database of actionable knowledge. So there isn't one specific set of actionable knowledge that works for everyone. It is very specific to your own circumstances, your own desires, your own stage in home ownership and so forth. But it's really, really important that you do build up that database of actionable knowledge, because that's the only way you're going to be able to set yourself up for the future, so that when you see those indicators occurring or you see what you've been looking for occurring, you're going to know what you should be doing to make sure that you can take advantage of that. So that's what we're all about. That's what we love doing. And that's what today's session is about. Now, for those of you that say, yeah, but it's hard, I see so many conflicting views out there, I agree with you. It is very, very tough. It's the worst that it's ever been. I mentioned at the top of the show about Greg looking for buying a home in the Daily Telegraph, in the classified section, the real estate listings. I don't even think that exists anymore. I know the inserts domain does, but I don't think the old days of it just being in text on the black and white newspaper exists anymore. But that used to be the only way that we got information, or through the major TV stations. This day and age, we are littered with what we call fake news. Everyone knows about it. Anyone with a social media account can jump onto the internet, and they straight away can use that platform. They've got an audience, and they can just make up whatever they want. So the real trick for you that perhaps wasn't needed 10, 15, 20 years ago is to be able to filter through all of that information, by the very nature of having that knowledge, turn it into actionable knowledge. So it is hard. A couple of techniques that we use all the time, and feel free if you want to hang around at the end of the session, I'll run you through what those are. But the easiest way to do it, just come here every single week. The reason that we do this is and we do it every single week, not just once a month, is to give everyone an opportunity to ask their questions and get involved. So this is probably the easiest way to help cut through what all that white noise is out there, and we can guide you as to what it should mean and what you should be doing with it. All right, I've been going on for long enough, so who am I? If you didn't hear before, my name is James Maitland. I'm the General Manager here at Salvo, and I've helped create more than 11,500 homes for people. Those of you that aren't sure what Salvo is or what we do a ton of different businesses. We do a lot of things here, but ultimately our goal is all about helping people like yourself create a home. So whether that be buying a home, renting a home, might be an investment property, whatever stage you are on that cycle, that's what we're all about, helping you through there. And we've got every which way you can look at it is what we're passionate about, what we like doing, and that's what we love doing. Lucky enough to be joined today on the panel by Greg Arbeck, Jack Jan, and Lucas. These guys are going to be answering all of your questions, and I will be reading through and making sure that I get it to them. If you're not sure how to do it, really, really simple in Zoom. Two methods. You can raise your hand and ask your questions live, or the method that everyone seems to prefer the most is the Q&A. Type them in. I've been having a quick look on my other screen as I've been chatting with you. I can see a ton of questions already in there. So we will run through those. If we miss them, we'll hang around at the end and answer those for you. All right, let's stop sharing my screen and get stuck into it. So first question, it was an easy one. Fastest increase in house prices in 32 years. Someone give us a bit of a rundown. What was it and why is it going so quickly?
Well, yes, it was actually the fastest growth. The National Home Value Index rose by 2.8% in March. And like you said, this is the fastest since October 1988, which was 3.2 at that time.
All right, so 1988, I was probably just still in junior school, dreaming about playing rugby league for the Eastern Suburbs Roosters. Clearly, that didn't work out for me because I'm here, but that was a long, long time ago. In fact, I remember that might have even been the bicentenary when we had the celebrations. Lucas, remember back in Sydney in Darling Harbour was invented for that exact reason.
Correct. And look, this growth is across all the capital cities. Every single capital city increased by at least 1.4%. So it's not just a designated area. So it's sort of Australia-wide. And
Melbourne, Victoria is back?
Yes, both Sydney and Melbourne have now staged a full recovery from the earliest downturns, more than 15-16% minus that it was. We are now growing in such a pace that we're out-taking the smaller cities, which used to be the leaders for growth recently.
All right. Now, let me ask you a question myself, and then I'm going to read through a few more questions I'm getting here. Greg, apparently there is a bad side, or apparently there's a bad side to such strong house price growth. I don't know what it could possibly be. It seems like a good thing to me. We were talking about it this week. What is it?
It's just really the gap between the people that have property and the younger people trying to get into property. So that gap is growing wider and wider and making it more difficult for younger people who are not earning the same sort of salaries, but just the pricing is going up way quicker than what they can get in. The gap's growing and growing. That's the...
Okay,
Yep.
So someone like yourself, a land baron, own acres and acres and acres of property. You're just sitting back getting fatter and richer as prices go up.
We're just sitting there.
Young people are struggling to actually get into the market.
Exactly. So we sit over here with all the properties we've gotten and the farmlands and things. We're just going, geez, I'm getting richer and richer, which is awesome. And
well, that is the stereotypical South African, is it not? The rich farmer owning acres and acres of land.
We don't give a damn about anybody else, as you're aware. So but generally speaking, that's the gap. Yes.
So, pretend for a second that you did care. What's sort of your advice then for the younger generation that, haven't saved up a deposit yet? Well, let me ask this two ways. Assuming they have saved a deposit, what's your advice to those younger people that are worried about this? And then my follow-on question, those people that haven't got a deposit yet saved up, is there any ways that they can get into the market, or what's your advice to them?
Well, the biggest thing is I think you'll probably find young people have major aspirations of buying acreage straight away, which is a silly aspiration. What they should be doing is going, right, let's get a foothold. And you do that, you get into buy an apartment, buy a unit, get something that's
so what you're saying, watching MTV's Pimp My Crib is not actually the house I should be aspiring for the start.
I think our younger generation, I'm the oldest, as you know, have got these aspirations that they want to live like the older guys straight away. And you've got to say, hang on, take it easy, take a step back, rather get into something that you can afford. And actually sometimes being in the city where you do get units and stuff like that is actually a better lifestyle for younger people and younger families. So get a foothold, buy something in a city, apartment, something like that, get your foot on a property, and then use that to leverage into the acreage later on.
All right. I think that's sound advice. Those of you that have been following us for a long time know that we always talk about it being time in the market rather than timing the market. So I think, for anyone that perhaps is worried about prices going up, first thing you should be doing is focus on battening down the hatch and saving up that deposit. But I think, Greg gave you really sound advice there. Look at what is achievable, what is affordable, even if it's not your dream home or it's not where you think you're going to live forever. Get into the market because, typically, prices are always going to go up in the long term, and you really need to get into a foothold rather than just wait. All right, so Lucas, while Greg was talking, I had a little bit of a look through the questions. I think it seems to be a pretty common thread. Everyone wants to know, why are we seeing such strong price growth, given that, 12 months ago it was all doom and gloom?
Supply and demand. Supply continues to be very low. For the month of March, it was minus 25.5%. What has been the average for the last 5 years. That's a huge number. To put it in,
the 5-year average number of available properties for sale in March, we were 25% below that.
Yeah, more than a quarter below. And just to put it in sort of with a ratio, for every property that gets listed for sale, there's 1.1 buyers waiting for it. So, it's supply and demand.
Yeah. Okay. So, we hear a lot, one of the favourite topics that I see in the newspaper and everyone talking about, I think I even saw in yesterday's paper, one economist was brave enough to say that house prices are going to go down this year. I think he must have been on some of Greg's medication, perhaps, when he was writing that. But, we hear all the time that, the regulators, whoever they are going to step in and are going to crunch this. Is that actually going to happen? What's the sort of view? I mean, who are these regulators, first of all?
Yeah.
And what's their mandate? Why do people say this?
James, well, there's two regulators there. One of the main ones that when they talk about that is APRA. So these are the guys that they regulate the banks. So their job is to regulate bank lending, make sure that there's no that it's being done correctly. And of course, you've got the Reserve Bank. So those are the two major regulators. Now, yeah.
So just for the simple people out there, you've got APRA that regulate the banks. So are they mandated to look at house prices, or where do they sit?
Their mandate is purely to make sure that the banks, that there's no high risk lending. And the signs are right now that is not the case. Predominantly, the market's been driven by first homeowners and people that are upsizing. So owner occupiers, that's what they're driven at. And those are low risk loans. It's when you get speculators that are getting involved in the market, interest only loans. And those are if they're at a very high rate, that's when APRA steps in, which they did in 2014 and 2017, to then start regulating those so that we don't get an overheated situation. The banks have got irresponsible lending. So
for everyone out there that's saying it happened before, it'll happen again, what you're saying the difference is that 5 years ago, they were concerned that there was an elevated level of risky or loans out there they were concerned were high risk, whereas now they're not so concerned about that.
They're very, very adamant. They're looking at it very carefully and then saying we primarily, the market's been driven by owner occupiers and first homeowners, which are not high risk. Speculators are not there at the moment, and they've got no intention of doing of re-regulating anything at this stage.
Okay. So are we seeing, with all these house prices going up, if we can do a bit of a dive into what is being sold, what's not, is it just bargain homes that are going? Is it cheap homes? Where's sort of the spread?
That's really being how homes. So not units, things like that. It's the demand is currently in houses. So and that's what I say, being driven by these owner occupiers and stuff like that. So it's not a speculators, as we've said. They're not worried about it. Completely not worried.
Okay. So is the top end of the market selling, or is it just the bottom end? Where are we sitting?
Actually, the top end, James, if I may step in, as I like to do often, the figures are showing us that the upper end of the market had an increase in March of 2.8%, and the lower end of the market had also an increase in March of 1.6%. So we see it's clearly the upper end that's leading the way.
Okay. All right. So it's not just the bargain homes that are the ones that are going up. We're seeing a pretty good spread across the full spectrum.
That's right.
Okay. So, one more question, Greg, because I think this whole regulator point is perhaps misunderstood by people and overlooked there. If what could the regulators do? What have they done in the past? And why are you sort of saying that they're not going to do that again this time around?
Well, we'll go back to first. We didn't touch on the Reserve Bank. The Reserve Bank's responsibility is to keep inflation at the right level. At the moment, we've got zero inflation. So their job is to make sure that the economy grows. The reason they're keeping interest rates low, to get the economy growing. If things get overheated, they do the reverse. But right now, they're trying to get. So that's what the Reserve Bank is doing. And they will continue, and they've made it very clear that their focus is to keep interest rates low for the next 3 years at least to get the recovery going. And they're not concerned about the growing house values. APRA, on the other hand, are looking at, it's not their job to see whether the houses are going to increase. They're going to make sure that the lending that is happening is done. And if they can see that is getting out of kilter, they will then put some regulations, which they did more to do on risky loans, not other loans. It's more then curb that sort of activity.
Yeah. Okay. And I think perhaps for everyone that's a bit unsure or concerned about things out there as well, we did. I don't know who mentioned it last week, but someone talked about the slightly higher LVR loans, and I just can't remember that there was a reason there why you were sort of saying that APRA wasn't concerned about them so much. Who was it that spoke about that?
I think it was Lucas.
I spoke last week about the. So basically, like Gregory just said, is mainly the investors that take loans which is interest only. There's such a small percentage of them right now.
Home buyers, wasn't it, that you were talking about, that were encouraged to buy?
Yeah, of course. And the first home buyers, on the other hand, because now the government says you can buy with just a 5% deposit rather than a 10% deposit, that's what they've seen. So that's why they're not really concerned.
Okay. All right, good. So, the prices are going up the fastest they've been in 32 years. Greg's told us not to worry so much about these headlines about regulators, stopping this growth. So if I am a buyer out there and I do have a deposit, and I am being realistic about, what I should be buying, we're hearing stories about people missing out and so forth. What are some of the reasons? What could go wrong, and what do people have to be careful of, at least initially, in this hot market?
Well, James, a lot of buyers have FOMO right now. So instead of doing things the way they normally would, they're jumping in sometimes without doing the research, without doing the due diligences. And I've sort of identified there's three issues here that where people can go wrong and it can end up costing them hundreds of thousands of dollars in some cases.
Can we call this Lucas's tips for the day? I know you love it.
It's the only thing that I was thinking of.
Give us tip number one.
Gazumping. So for those of our listeners out there that don't know what gazumping is,
Greg always says you do that on the sales leads that come through.
Let's not get into that right now. But so gazumping is when a buyer makes a verbal offer to the agent for a property they're interested. Then the agent goes and speaks to other potential buyers and gets a high offer, using that offer to get a higher offer and close a deal. So we have to understand here that until there's an exchange contract of sale, the property is not sold, it's not anyone's. The agents have got a legal obligation to present all offers made to the vendor. Okay? Now, unfortunately, for the people that missed out, that could occur for them thousands of dollars, legal fees, valuation reports, building and pest inspections, and they will not get any of that money back. So lucky for those people, I've got some tips, some action you need to take to make sure you don't miss out.
All right, give it to us.
Okay. First of all, pre-arrange finance and have your 10% ready. When you pay the 10%, try to do it by using a bank check, because that eliminates the waiting period to get the contract exchanged. Another one is, as soon as you inspect the property, if you like it, get a contract of sale ASAP, give it to your legal solicitor, conveyancer to have a look at it. So make sure that everything is above board. Also, you can ask the agent for written evidence that the offer you made was submitted to the vendor, the owner of the property. And lastly, also again, ask the agent for written evidence of all other offers made, and be prepared to increase your offer if you want the property.
Okay. All right. All right. What about number two? What's the second issue that people should look into?
Under quoting. Unfortunately, something that's very legal, but many agents now more than ever seem to do it. And there's ways of getting around that, because they underquote a property. Then they say, we had so much inquiry that we had to change the price. Last week alone, there were two instances in Melbourne. One property in Brighton was quoted to sell $2 million. It sold for 2.9. Another property next to Brighton was quoted 2.1. It sold for $3 million. So having $1 million laying around somewhere empty, it's not an easy thing to come. So again, here, I've got some tips for those that are looking to buy. Look, as a rule of thumb, always make sure you have 15% more than the asking price. Include with that 15% other costs like legal fees, getting past the building inspections done. Now, if you don't have enough money, walk away. Okay, that's number one. Number two, correct. That's right. Number two, research. Talk to other agents in the area. Check prices on realestate.com and domain online and have a look, because you can identify if somebody's been presented to you in an unrealistically cheap price. Finally, check when the property was listed. Some of the properties were listed in the middle of pandemic last year. They took it off the market. The agent might put it back on the market without upgrading the current market value. So obviously, again, you're going to have a difference in pricing. So they're my tips for that.
All right. What's the third point everyone should look into?
Due diligence and planning permission. So this could possibly be the most expensive mistake any purchaser can make. For an example, something that could be picked up by pre-settlement built and pest and building. If you don't do it, you find out later and cost you hundreds of thousands of dollars. Lucky for all our listeners, again, I've got some tips to avoid, having to pay money. So first of all, check with your council for planning overlays that affect the property, as well as the developments that might change the area's character. Because a lot of people buy with intention to demolish or build something else. So always check, because what could be happening 2 blocks away might not be the same story for your street. Number 2, talk to the neighbors, talk to people that live in the area, to tenants, find out about the area. Also, find where the house is built on. Was it, a disused petrol station? Was it a battery factory? You got to make sure that the soil is not contaminated, because that can cost a lot of money and take a lot of time until it's fixed. And also, when you look at apartments, if you're looking at a mixed-use building that also has commercial space, you need to clarify the zoning plans for the building as well as the adjoining blocks. So that's my tips for that.
All right. Well, I can see it's the top of the hour, so we should start wrapping up. But just before we do, Jack, let's keep it short for everyone. Moratoriums have all now gone.
Yep.
Last week we were counting down the days. What should I be kicking out my tenant? The question we get asked all the time. What's your advice?
I know we're running out of time. Just very quick, I think the poor landlord, and now they should maybe relax, because we all know all the rental protection has come to the end, increase the ban on the rental increase. So the landlord may able to issue the vacate of the notice of the vacate to the tenant who has fallen behind the rental payment. But it's really be careful before you're doing that, because you need to have a look at and think about it. And if you issue a notice of vacate, what you're gonna be lost, and what you might be get it. As for example, if you're looking for the increased rental for $10, $20, then you kick out your current tenant, you might not be able to find a new tenant in months, 2 months, 3 months, which is you have no rental income, and so which is not worth to do that. But for other, situation, if your tenant, they might able to pay the rent, but they're not willing to pay because they thinking they're under the rental protection, you might, think about to issue the notice, which is a great thing. You're not able to take action against them. So that's my suggestion. Have a look at before you make a decision.
Okay, good. All right, everyone. Well, I think we'll wrap it up there. I just want to make a few closing comments. Great session as always. A lot of information to absorb there. Hopefully we've helped you down that path with some knowledge through there. I think, you know, it was a pity I had to cut that short with Jack. I did mention last week, and I threw it around with some of our property management team, we might actually do a special session just on, you know, the new rules that have come into Victoria here, what they mean for landlords, and what you should be doing for the rest of 2021 to make sure that you best position your investment property. So we will book a date for that and let everyone know and have that as a special session. So look, for those of you that are still hanging around, the way I see it is that going forward from here, you've got three choices. You can continue to do what you've always been doing, and that is, you know, make no changes. I think my only suggestion to you is that if you don't make a change, then you're likely to continue to get the same results. The next thing you can do is continue to do it by yourself. You know, at a bare minimum, I hope that you take on board what we've talked about, understand that concept of actionable knowledge, listen to what we've talked about, and continue to build that database on your own. But what I sincerely hope you do is you go down the alternate path and you let us help you with it. Now, help you with what? Well, it really depends what it is, where your situation is, where you are in that stage. Really, how we can help you really depends on your situation. So what I think is the most active and the most dedicated way is for us to catch up one-on-one. So what I've done, I've set aside some time in everyone's diaries over the next 5 days, specifically just for these meetings with you guys. We're all busy, but I've made sure I've set aside some time so that you will be able to get a spot there. And really what I think it will take is the form of, you know, a 15, 20-minute catch-up. You can do it, you know, on the phone. You can do it virtually through Zoom, FaceTime, or, of course, those of you that are brave enough and want to venture into the city, come and see us face-to-face. We'd love to see you. You know, really, it's a very simple thing. We're run for 15, 20 minutes, as I said. Meet your expert, have a bit of a chat, discuss the market specifically that you're looking at, talk about what are your plans, what do you see the future holds for you, and then we'll talk about what are the next steps to move forward from here. And really the idea about this is for us to be able to work out if, you know, you're a good fit for us, and if we can, you know, help you on that journey. We're not going to be able to help everyone, but, you know, if you got value out of today, you saw this as a good session, then I'm sure this really is for you. Those of you that aren't sure, you know, this really works for those of you that are focused. You've got to be confident. You've got to be prepared to take the action, do the hard work. And as I said, you know, you understand that concept of building up that actionable knowledge. And that's really all we're about, is helping you build up your own database of actionable knowledge and pointing you in the right direction. And hopefully, you know, through us helping you, getting you into the program, you know, we can make sure that you're ready to go when the time is right. So if that sounds like you, how do you do it? Really simple. There's a link in the chat. Jump on that now and you can book your time. Obviously, first in, best dressed. We'll get the best times they want. Your browser should have been redirected to the booking page after you join this session. For those of you that have got to run off or don't have your diaries, I'll send you a follow-up email with the link. You can join that way. If you're on Facebook, there will be no links there, and you won't get an email. We will, after this, I'll post the booking link. You can jump on and make those bookings there. So we've run over by just under 10 minutes, which is good. Those of you that have got to go, feel free to jump off now. You know, I really thank each and every one who's joined us, whether it be live here with us on Zoom or via Facebook. Appreciate you setting aside the time this afternoon to join us. If you got value out of it, then great. Let us know. We love hearing from you. If you didn't, also let us know. We'd love to hear as to how you think we can improve or what we didn't touch on that you'd like. Even if you've got a private question you didn't want us to answer live, feel free to shoot us through an email and we'll come back to you. So once again, thank you very much for joining us today. I look forward to seeing you again next week, next month, next quarter, whatever it is. And hopefully we can continue to add value. So thank you very much and look forward to seeing you again next week.